Here I am, Leon C., aka Morpheus. Class is in session today, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Academy of Wow Men. Everyone take your seats. Take your seats. Put on your thinking caps. Relax. Drink a bottle of water. Maybe even a cup of coffee if you need it, because you're going to be here for a while. We have a very fascinating lesson today for you that I spent some time putting together. And of course, as you know, this is, as a matter of fact, part 3. If it's not part 3, it's all right. I'm still approving part 2, but that's fine. So in this, we're going to talk about something that's very vital, and I'm going to at least try to answer 3 of your questions. And I could be off with the numbers, but again, that's fine. I don't mind being flawed. I don't mind being a little off a couple of digits, and I don't mind being off a couple of subjects. That's okay. It's good, so usually it's on the fly, and I slip up sometimes, and I make mistakes. So, okay, I make mistakes. So I'm going to go ahead and answer the questions 6, 7, and 8. Now, you must be forewarned that it's going to be very troublesome to listen to. It's a real situation. And this isn't a put down to any body of subject that I'm getting ready to discuss right now. That's your disclaimer. And it's raw facts, because this is a real story. It's a real situation, so you can't make this up. All right? So we're going to begin. The first answer that I have received is Leon C. Morpheus. Why is it that I hear that single mothers make for a bad choice, and men are very skeptical and very cautious when dealing with single mothers? I don't understand this, because I see plenty of single mothers with boyfriends or substitute dads in their life, and they've gotten along quite well for several years. Please answer this question, Mr. Morpheus, because I'm having troubles with this, because I'm on the fence. I hear other podcasters and YouTubers saying one thing about the conditions and problems with single mothers, but I also see something different in the real world. You're doing a wonderful job, and you have been saving lives one day at a time. All right, wonderful, beautiful, and I'm not going to waste any time with y'all today. I'm not going to. I'm going to cut straight to the subject. Your little experience have nothing to do with the majority. What that means is this, ladies and gentlemen. If I say that, how can I put it where we can understand? Let's say that you open up a bag of M&Ms, and the bag of M&Ms are blue M&Ms. The color is blue, right? And in the M&M bag, it's supposed to be all blue, no other colors. But when you pour all the M&Ms out on your hands, or maybe in a bowl, or maybe in a dispenser of some type for fun, or maybe for kids, and you notice that there is a yellow M&M in the midst of the blue M&Ms. All right? Your experience is that yellow M&M. Your idea, what you experience is the yellow M&M. When people say, well, I see this marriage happening, or I see this relationship successful, or I don't see that in my world, or that's not something that I've experienced. I'm a single mother, or I am a dad of a single mother. I've got with this mother who has a child, and it's been working out well for me for 15 and 16 years. And we've seen it to the point where my kids are teenagers and in college. You are still that yellow M&M. You're still the yellow M&M because you're not all the way around the world. You're not everywhere. You're just in your one house, you in your one relationship, and you're dealing with this one child or however many children that they have. It's still a one situation. You are the yellow M&M. You are the outlier. You are the minority. Listen, your experience is a minority situation. When men and women and others are discussing the dangers of being with a single mother or a mother of three, they are talking universally. They're talking the majority. We don't have time, and it's stupid. It's rather it's uneducated. Okay, and it's illogical, and it makes no sense at all. Even if you put in a computer, it's still considered as a 0.1% of a chance, right? To concentrate on that minority situation, on you being a yellow M&M. You're not a problem. When a firefighter goes into a house to put out the fire, they want to find out where the source of the fire is. They're going to heal the conditions for sure. But they're not going to go spray water in the rooms that have no fire in it. Don't be stupid. They're not going to go and spray water all over the living room and there's no fire in the living room. The fire is in the bedroom or upstairs. They're going to go upstairs where the fire is and put that out, because what will happen is, listen, open up your ears and listen. What will happen is, if they don't attack that fire first, if they don't deal with the majority of the problem, it's going to consume the rest of the house that isn't on fire. So when you hear people, listen, my viewer, when you hear people and yourself say, well, it's my experience, or I seen this, you're the yellow M&M. You don't matter. You are the minority in the situation. The majority speaks. The majority is what the problem is. Your probability in a mathematical equation. The most is what gets it. Especially when you do your fractions. It don't matter. It is the majority that is within. Now, moving forward. When it comes to discussion of the single mothers, and you can say, how do you know, Morpheus? Because you're not in everybody's relationship. You're not around the world. I am around the world, and I take information from everywhere. This is a universal issue. This is also a cultural issue, meaning there are statistics. There's a census program as well. They do their balances and their checks around the country. So therefore, with this majority and the information, you are responsible to put it together. It's called breadcrumbs. If you don't understand what that is, go back to college. Take your butt back to the freshman year of your college days if you don't understand that. I'm out here to teach you how to think. Learn how to think on your own. When you put the pieces together, you'll figure out that it is a majority situation. It's a constant fraction. It's a constant equation that you're constantly getting when you do the mathematics, when you do the logic. And the majority speaks. So here it is, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to go ahead and talk about it. So that should explain that situation for you. Now I'm going to give y'all something in return. And this is where it gets uncomfortable. This is a real situation here. And I tell you that I'm always everywhere and I'm helping people and I'm doing discussions. There was a dear friend of mine who I've known for quite some time. And he was only raised up by his mother. Right? Listen carefully. It's going to be vital for you to understand. He was raised up by his mother. And one day he decided he wasn't looking right one day, actually. During the conversation, it looked like he was a bit upset and something was bothering him. And I had to pull it out of him, but he didn't want to give me the full information. But he looked very, very disturbed, very troubled, very bothered. And he never asked me about this, but he wanted to know how to get firearms and how to get a gun permit and what does it take to do it. And he was never into firearms. He was never into it. And I was thinking at first, which it's normal, that he wanted it for self-defense and maybe to protect himself, to protect his family, to provide himself for some type of security because of the coming world that we are dealing with currently. But I told him what he can do to get a firearm, and have to get his permit. Then he has to get his background check. Just the legal things that needs to be done before getting any type of firearms. And that's usually the direction I'm gonna take anybody anyway. You gotta do it the legal way, and you gotta do the background check. You gotta sign up for this, and you gotta put your name in. You gotta wait for it to come back, then you gotta purchase the firearm, and then they'll do a background check on you, and so forth and so on. And then you go with the carry, open carry, concealed carry, whatever, right? Public carry, and look about where your state is, where you're carrying your firearms at, and pay attention to the signs on the stores, fronts, and whatever public area. That way you don't get yourself in any situation, any legal situation. And so he did just that. Actually, he went to go and get a background check and try to work on getting his permit. And that week after, because it took a little while, I think it takes a couple of business days or something like that before you can actually get the permit. And then when you go to purchase the firearm, it's still going to take a couple of days before they actually give it to you. So it's a process of things for good reasons. And so when that next week came along, I began to dig deeper into why he was a little troubled. Because I began to tell him, man, you wasn't smiling that day, and usually you're a happy guy, and you're always talking about sports, or you're very chipper. And why are you interested in a firearm? Because you was never worried about that before. You were 100% against it. You were the type of guy who just went through life in a space bubble. And not to mention just that, he was a Christian type of guy as well. I told you, even if I don't agree with the religious belief system that people dive themselves into, that doesn't mean we can't be friends. That doesn't mean we can't hang out. We do have a difference of reality. I'm not going to say opinion, because it's not my opinion, it's facts. We have a differences of reality, and we look at the world a little differently. That doesn't mean we can't hang out for coffee, or go golfing, or play basketball, or go to the gym. You're still considered as a human being in my eyes, and you're going to be respected just like any other person. I'm just going to make sure that we have a clearer understanding of the deeper values in which we may see differently. But however, I began to dig deeper into his psychological issues that he had, because that's just what I do sometimes. It's a habit that I have when I'm around people, because I'm considered as a very awesome coach. And I'm not a coach, but I have a lot of people who look up to me. Me telling you that I'm alpha means nothing until you see it face to face and up front when we're having a conversation. You're going to realize you're talking to somebody who can probably give you some really good information. And by the end of the conversation, you're going to have a sense of self where you're like, I can ask this guy all kind of questions. I think this guy can really help me. I think this guy has a good idea about this world that we live in, our life. And so how it happened, we had a discussion about women and being a single mom, and we're discussing about being careful on who we decide to be in a relationship with in the coming future. And when he came up with the single mother situation, listen carefully. Here it is, ladies and gentlemen. Listen carefully. This is where it began. He said, well, my mother raised me and I turned out all right. I turned out just fine. And she did what she could to provide for me. But you know what? I hate that man. Now, what are you talking about? You hate what man? I hate my father. I'm just now getting back with getting to know him a little bit more, but I really can't stand him. And I really hate him. I really don't want him to be here. And I'm disgusted with him. And every time I see him, I have this animosity built up against him because he was never there for us when we were kids. And he moved out of town and he didn't want to. All he sent was a couple of letters, and he didn't even try to spend time with us like we wanted him to. And there were Christmas days where he didn't show up, and our birthdays he didn't come around. But my mom was always there, so I respect her. But I hate that man, though. I hate him. So I asked him a question. Before you begin in any conversation, ask questions first before you assume. And that's always key number one. You ask questions. During the questions is going to be your answer 9 times out of 10. Okay? Typically, it's going to be your answer, and then you can follow up on it. So I wanted to get him to see where his anger was and to calm the storm, given the fact that, well, let's go forward because I'm not going to get ahead of myself. So I asked him, I said, okay, who told you? Listen, ladies and gentlemen, listen to this. Listen to this right here. I said, so who told you he was never there? Who told you that he only wrote letters? Who told you that he was terrible in your life if you really didn't get that much time to spend with him? Who told you this? He said, well, my mother told me, and my grandmother told me. I said, wait a minute. Wait. I said, did you ever hear his side of the story? Did you ever sit down with your father and hear from his side of the story? He said, no. Listen, y'all need to check this out. He said, no. I didn't hear from his side of the story, and I never even cared to hear from his side of the story because he should have been there. My mom will never lie to me, and my grandmother confirmed what my mother was talking about. So he had to be 100% wrong. I hate that man. Every time I see him, I'm disgusted. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you how old my friend was at the time. To give you a clear understanding of how old he is, it's going to be vital to this real life story. He was 33 years old. 33 years old. At 33 years old, still haven't gotten over the past. But we're going to continue because this is a vital lesson and you need to understand what I'm trying to tell you here. You need to understand what I'm trying to tell you. So I continued on and I said, so you never heard his side of the story. You're going to believe. You're going to stand by what your mother say and what your grandmother say, but you're missing the factor of the point here. In an investigation or in a proper detailed analysis, basically you're listening from two women's point of view, and you don't understand that the grandmother was your mother's mother who raised your mother up to be a certain way. Of course, when there is a dispute between her daughter and a husband or a man from a different place, because that's not her son, she's going to side with the daughter. And mothers do evil things to their daughters. They program their daughters. They deceive their daughters. They don't give their daughters a sense of responsibility or accountability to their daughters. They treat their daughters as if their daughters are their best friend. So they are two negative entities working against this man, and you're not going to want to, and you do not want to, and you have no inkling to care about what his side of the story is, but you're going to hate him. Listen. You're hating this man. You're hating this man on what your mother and what your grandmother said. You're going on hearsay, or in this case, on her say. But you don't want to hear what he has to say, and he's the one who birthed you as well. He's the one that had to interact with your mother, and apparently if he's not there, there is a reason behind it. And of course, when I began to talk to my friend about this, he began to get some kickback, knee-jerk reactions, and I don't know what you're talking about, man, because, my mama never lied to me, and why would she lie to me? And I still hate this man. That's my grandma mom. That's my grandma mama. You can't tell me about my grandma, because I know her more than you. You can't tell me that. So I told him to sit down, like I just told you a few minutes ago in the beginning of this audio. I said, have a seat. And of course, after 2 minutes, he sat down, told one of my companions to go ahead and get him a glass of tea, calm himself down. I said, listen, every father loves their children. It may be an oops situation. It may have been a rushed one-night stand. Or maybe he really wanted to have a relationship with this woman. But when a man hears that he has a little offspring, a little version of himself, and regardless of the minorities, you can say, again, the yellow M&Ms around the world who really don't care about their kids, or who really is kind of heartless, men love deeply, and men truly love. A lot of times men don't love with a lot of conditions. There's conditions for men to love you, but it's not going to be extreme as the average woman. A woman wants a complete grocery list of conditions before she can love you. But for men, it's not that long. But when he knows there is a baby involved, or one of his babies involved, he generally loves his kids. And if he's not there, it's not because he didn't want to be there. Most times, and when you look at today's world, with all the information that we have, it's not that he don't want to be there. It's because he can't be there because of something that your mother was doing. Of course, your mother wants to paint your father in a bad light. Of course, your grandmother wants to paint your father in a bad light, because that's what typically a lot of women do. It's called having no accountability. Don't want to take responsibility for their bad actions and their bad behavior. So of course she wants you to look at her like she's an angel and she's done nothing wrong and everything was on your father. Therefore, you can be comfortable being her, and I paused. Ladies and gentlemen, here we go. The investigation goes deeper. See, I don't play. When I have a conversation with you, and my people know this quite well, you better be ready, because it's not going to be just a simple penny conversation. I get into real stuff. I don't waste my time. When you have the conversation with me, I talk about something that really matters in the world. You're going to get something when you get done with the conversation. That's just the type of person that I am. I don't waste my time. So I go deeper with this. So I say, okay, let me ask you a question, Mr. So-and-so. Do your mother ever ask you for money with the jobs that you have? Do your mother ever depend on you to come and help her do things? Do your mother ever have you drive her places and she's always calling you up for some type of assistance? Or do you think that you're actually carrying your mom and that you are providing for her? And he said, yes. What does this have to do with what you're talking about? I said, oh, okay. Well, let the lesson begin. I said, what's happening is, oh, and by the way, I got another question for you. Uh-oh, ladies and gentlemen, here we go. I'm digging deeper. I'm digging deeper. You already answered my question. And I'm going to tell you what that is. Number one, hold on to that thought because we're going to jump back over there. I asked him as well. I said, is she married again? When's the last time she had a boyfriend that you know of as her son? And how long has it been? So he tells me that she's not married today. Listen, she's not married. After his father, he said he can only remember there was one guy that she had in her life, but he didn't last long. But she's been single through and through and never really had the ability to get another husband in her life. I wonder, what do you smell? And it's not The Rock. You smell some stink. This is what some stink is. Oh yeah, stink is in the air. I'm not talking about your puff either. I'm talking about stink. So I leaned in closer and I said, you can't put the pieces together, my dear friend. Do you not understand what's happened to you? Number one, the reason why I asked you is, do you feel like you're carrying her? Is because you are a son husband. What is a son husband? A son husband is a son of a mother who this mother depends on her son to provide for her, to help her, to carry her along in life, such as what a husband would do, and also be a financial dependent individual on her own son. This includes why she did not want to tell the truth. Because if she explained to her son that it was her fault that her father couldn't be there, it was her fault because she had an attitude, or she was non-compatible, that she was ratchet, she was in her masculine, she wasn't submissive, and she wasn't the dutiful wife that she was supposed to be, that there will be some animosity between her and her son, and she would lose her prospects. She would lose her financial security that she has established in her son husband. He would not be so eager to help her 24 hours, 7 days a week, because he would realize that she is her own problems, that she is an hindrance, and he's carrying someone who just really wasn't meant to have kids. Just because you have kids don't mean you are entitled to have kids. Here it is. Not everyone is supposed to be mothers. Yeah, our kids are here. A lot of us are born. We can't go back into the womb. So it's not about a regret situation or saying that we are pointless in our life, don't mean anything. What I'm saying is it's not for everyone. And some people have kids, but they are unfit to have children. But because they know this and they are sneaky with their bad behaviors, especially how they treat their boyfriends and their husbands, guess what? They have to lie to survive. And so she was doing just that to him, and he had no idea. Because if she told the truth about why his father wasn't in his life, then of course she'll lose her prospects. Now, lane number 2 is what I discussed as well. How come she don't have a husband now? How come she don't have a boyfriend? Women have more chances than men. Let's be real. Women can rack up more bodies before any man can rack up a body. Women lose their virtue and their virginity before men do. And even if he's an alpha, or even if he has the pick of the litter, such as myself, it's still not as easy as any average woman. Any average woman can just say whatever she wants. She can still get a man's attention. But us men, we have to live by conditions. We have to do certain things in order to get the attention of a woman if we wanted to go down that path. So for her not to procure a husband, for her not to have a boyfriend, for her not to secure a relationship ever since his father left, that's clearly a mental sign. That's clearly a red flag that she is not compatible, or she may not be compatible for relationships. That she's the problem, that she don't want to open up herself. She has a bad attitude. She's uncompatible. The list continues and it extends to the far reaches of your imagination. And no, it wasn't because, well, she just didn't want to be in a relationship and she was just so hung up on his dad, and she just didn't want to move on. Ladies, let's stop it. Stop the BS. This is the Academy of Wildmen. This is not the Academy of Stupid. And this academy wasn't established yesterday. We've been around for a long time. We know about you and your stupidity and your dumb thinking. Stop the childish behavior. Most people want to be loved, especially women. Most people are interested in some sort of romance, some sort of donkey dunk companion. And women on a general basis, yeah, they can frolic around and they can probably donkey dunk with ease if they wanted to. It's going to decrease their value and it's going to diminish them. But they're going to want to be with someone with some type of stable, safe donkey dunk potential. She may have men for every facet of her life: the plumber, the mechanic, the artist, the connect, right? The dealer. But she's going to have that man who's going to be able to split her open at home. So cut your nonsense. We wasn't born yesterday. For her not to procure that or any of that, or to seek out that companionship, clearly there's a negative sign there. When for men, that's an excuse. For women, that's no excuse, because women get it every day. They're always approached. There's men in their DMs. There's men who are interested, even if she don't even have to do anything. Just stand there and a man's going to approach her. Because she's going to look good to somebody out there. And even if she don't look good, she's going to be curious in the eyes of the mind of so many men. So she has no excuse. We can keep diving into it, but it's unnecessary. The point of the matter is, she wasn't compatible for a relationship. Either, are there or not there, regardless of what you think. Because she was too comfortable as well having him as her son husband the entire time. And not to mention his grandmother. Because he told me once upon a time, again, this is somebody who I know quite dearly. So this is not my first rodeo, nor am I just a person who's just getting this story about his mother and his grandmother. He's been dealing with them for quite some time. His grandmother even benefits as well. This is why they wanted to boot the father out of the picture. This is why they talk so heavily and angrily and evil against his father. You understand me? Because when his grandmother was in trouble and needed help, guess who she called up? Him. Because he's the only son. Oh, he's the only son. And they will always call upon him because they wanted to procure their security. They wanted to procure him as a son husband and depend on him to leech or parasite off of him, basically, and to keep him in the dark about his father. Because they want to be painted in his mind as angels that can never do anything wrong. If they told the truth, he would not be so eager to help them. He will be judgmental. He will be very cautious, and he would hold back a little bit of whatever financial help or meat that he offers them. What is meat? Money, energy, attention, and time. This is how women operate. That's how they manipulate. That's how they survive. This is typical. But a lot of them do it in such a deceiving, manipulative way where they're not going to tell you the true story about your father. They're not going to tell you what they did to him. They're going to tell you what he did to them. They're going to tell you, oh, he just went out of town and he never even wanted to come and see you. But you, being the dummy, would never understand why. But if he loved me, he should have been in town. Do you realize that if he was there? Let's continue. Let's continue because this can really blow up. So getting back to the story here. Okay. He began to break down a little bit, and I began to explain more to him that every father really loves their kids, and most likely there's another side of the story that he didn't want to listen to. And he asked me that question, then how come he stayed away for so far? How come he didn't want to come around her or come around them? And I had to be honest with you. I said, because women know how to push the right buttons, and men are not really social creatures like that. And women know how to get in a man's face, and they know how to toy with their kids and mistreat men. And so smart men know how to disconnect themselves or basically walk away because violence can occur. So I had to be honest with him and tell him, think about this. Maybe your father, and I'm willing to bet that it was that than anything else, knew your mother more than you know her. That's the reason why they're not together, where she could say something or do something where he's liable to commit violence. We see this on the news every day. It happens in the police reports all the time, where there's domestic violence. The husband just couldn't take it anymore. It's not that men are evil. It's not that men are, that they have a loose cap. Men aren't devils and monsters. Women become deceitful and evil progressors. When the lights are off, when the cameras are off, when they're not in public, listen, when their mothers and their fathers aren't around, when the priest is nowhere to be found, when the police are in their police stations, these mothers, these women will do the worst to their own husbands and boyfriends. They will push them to the point on purpose to get them locked up. They will get in these men's faces. They will point their finger on their chest. They will spit in their face. They'll slash their car. They'll tear their tires up. They'll threaten to run over their truck, or you could say put a boulder on their truck or a brick, or run their truck off the road. They will do the most to their own husbands, where their husbands are being assaulted. They don't want to admit it. They don't want to put in a police report because it make them feel lesser of a man in his pride. But a lot of men be abused by women, and sometimes it's not even by their hands. Women, words are abusive. Women can say things that make men tip the scale. Women can say stuff that cut men down so bad, make them wish he never existed. Women can cut men so bad when they have loved her. They gave her a child, 2 children, 3 kids. He paid her bills. He provided for her. He protected her since college. They donkey-dunked with each other. He spent time with her parents. They were valedictorians together. And she would turn around and step on this man's toes and spit in his face. Once that button is pushed, there are some men, when you push that button, she's going to be lifted off the ground. Or you're going to be seeing RIP on a tombstone While everybody's calling this man evil and a monster, we are all forgetting the dangers and the negative effects that women can do to men. They don't have to touch you to piss you off. They don't have to touch you to hurt you. They don't have to do that. Women know how to hurt men without putting their hands on them. And so I had to explain to him and say, maybe your father had a point where he didn't want to go to prison. And that's like that with a lot of baby fathers. There's plenty of men go through that. They want to, and I was explaining to him like this. I said, I'm sure he wanted to be with you. It had nothing to do with you. It had a lot to do with her. When men don't want to be around their kids, it doesn't have anything to do with the kids. It's the woman. Even if he comes and pick them up, they're going to cause hell. That is the baby mama. If it's his visitation day, he don't want anything to do with this woman because she's going to dictate everything because she can get away with it. That's right. Especially in the Western world, women get away with that dirt. Because why? She thinks and she knows in the back of her mind, there's going to be a white knight soldier. She can call the police. She can call her big brother. She can call her grandpa. Whoever she knows she can get away with it. So that's why with her little bitty self, she'll get in this huge man's face. And men having self-control and having pride have to do what they can to walk away. And oftentimes they need to go as far as possible. And when they look at this child, they love their kids and their parent. I mean, in the situation that he tried to fix, or he tried to make like a family, but in his mind, it's a failure. The kids are not a failure. What he tried to make is a failure. You understand what I'm saying? He tried to build a family and it failed, but it didn't fail because he didn't do the right thing. It failed because of the woman who he tried to build this establishment with. So this failure, when he looks at the child's face, the child's not a failure. That's not what I'm saying. I'm talking about the situation. When he looks at the child's face and when he looks at her, or if he has to be around it, it only reminds him of the failure that he had committed to. And so it cuts a man deep. It cuts him deep. So therefore, the best thing he can do is start a new family or leave and start a new life instead of going to prison or putting himself in a position where this girl can manipulate him and push buttons to the point where he'll put her down and he'll be put in prison. So when I asked him this and I made my explanation, same thing I told you is the same thing I told him. This is not nothing new. When he hears this audio, he's going to know I'm talking about him, because that's what I do. I'm real off the set and I'm real on the set, because that's just who I am. So don't worry about it. He knows it's him. The guy knows exactly who he is. Anyhow, when it was all said and done, it's okay. This grown man started crying. It's fine. It's okay, ladies and gentlemen. I'm a man too. I can handle that. I don't suggest men crying in front of women, but this man let it go. And he started looking at the ground, and he looked up at me. He said, "You know what, Morpheus?" I said, "What's going on? You can talk to me, brother. What's up? What's up? I'm all ears. I'm here to help you. I'm all ears." He said, "Man, I was so mad and angry. The reason why I was going to get that firearm was because I hated my dad so much." I said, "Stop there. You don't have to say no more. Say no more. Say no more. I know where you're getting ready to go with this. I hated him so much. I couldn't stand him. And my mom used to tell me all sorts of stories about this man. And I couldn't believe that he would just neglect us like that. And seeing his face again, I had problems forgiving him. And my mother would tell me that all he sent was just letters, and he would just be in a different town, and he could have came to see us, but he just didn't want to do it. And what you said opened up my eyes. I didn't look at it that way. And I asked him afterwards. I said, so you mean to tell me you never thought of this? You never thought about this possibility. You just went on what your mother said, what your mother and your grandmother said. And you know what he said, ladies and gentlemen? You know what he said? That's all he had to go on. That's all he was taught. That's all he was given. Long story short, he backed out of getting the permit, and he didn't get the firearm. He's a changed man now. The situation is fixed. I fixed it. It's all said and done, so there's no need to take action now. Everything was prevented, and I was able to put this man on a different path because he truly hated his father. It was terrible. And single mothers don't quite understand when they neglect their duties as being when they push the father out of the house like that, and they just raise the kids up on their own. The kids don't really know what the father been through. All they think is that the father neglected their life, didn't want to be with them, and sometimes they think it's their fault. And these kids grow up with so much anger, with so much strife for this innocent man. He may have done wrong. He may have been an alcoholic. Maybe he sold drugs. Maybe he, I'm not going to say abusive, because that's always the claim, which is not true. Those are false allegations most times. Men rather prefer not to be abusive. Those are those rare exceptions to the rules. I made an audio called The White Woman's Struggle. It's a very good audio about the abuse that some women go through. But those are rare occurrences. It happens, but with the white girls who are my best friends, my girls, I call them, I know them quite well. And it's a real story for them, because they were just too soft and they were pushovers. So the men that they got with pretty much beat the brakes off of them in more ways than one. But you need to check that audio out. It's pretty nice. It's called White Woman's Struggle, the Untold Story. Anyhow, even if those occur, in most relationships, that's not true. Most times he just did one thing wrong, or maybe he cheated, which that's just what men do, depending on what type of man he is, because men like varieties. I'm not going to talk about that right now. I mean, I got 3 companions. What do you think? And there was something he said that she didn't like. He didn't do what she wanted him to do. He didn't buy her a new car. He didn't get a new job. He didn't, whatever it was, he was picky. And because the way society is ran, where they always support the woman, they kick the man down, and what a woman say is law, and she's always right, and women are pedestalized by beta men, where they have no sense of accountability or realize that they're doing wrong. So therefore, good men end up being abused by it. So she's going to feel a sense of entitlement and destroy the husband in the process. You got me? And so therefore, the children ends up raised up wrong. They're made to be monsters for the future. If I hadn't intervened in this man's life, I don't know, you probably know what could have happened there. Women make terminators and don't even understand it. There are daughters that women create, that they have, when they disconnect the father from their daughter, and they kick the father out of the house for whatever reason it might be, whatever excuse she comes up with. whatever it might be, the single mother don't understand that she's creating a monster where this daughter grows up resenting men and resenting her father for what her mother have said and have done. And because the mother typically, not all the time, again, this is the majority, this is not the outliers and your little bitty experiences. If you're a yellow M&M, I'm not talking about you. Take your feelings somewhere else. Your feelings don't line up to law or the court of law or the court of life or the court of existence. Your feelings don't matter. What matters is facts, and we're speaking facts here. Typically, they don't create children who are well balanced, where they understand the struggle of the man and the woman. If she's the only one there and she got men coming in and out of the door, or she's just, I'm a boss babe, I can get the bag on my own, I can raise my own kids, I raised 5 kids of my own, I'm tough, I'm father and I'm mother at the same time. Your kids are good. The kids see life differently, and it screws their vision, and it's going to give them a bad look on the world, to the point where they won't forgive their father, or they won't understand a man's struggle. They won't see what's on the other side of the river. And what I'm talking about right now is just the tip of the iceberg. This is the tip of the iceberg, not to mention when there's a substitute dad in the picture, and he has to raise this daughter or the son that don't belong to him biologically. There is a lot of trouble with that too, because she can still pull out at any time. And if he marries this woman, there is going to be a lot of red tape and a lot of struggles that he's going to have to endure, because he's making a sacrifice to take care of that child and to take care of her, which is oftentimes overlooked. There was something in my past that I never told you about, but I tell you, I give you a little bit of myself, bits and pieces, but I'm going to tell you something about one of my situations, and I'm not going to talk too long about it, but you have to understand how serious it is. I'm going to tell you how I understood the anger that my friend had for his father, because I experienced that firsthand, and I was just a substitute person. In the past, I tried to get with a single mother, and it didn't last long. I'm going to tell you why. She had a son who was, he was in his young years, his single digits. And I'll never forget, one day I came to pick him up and go to, I think we was going to go to a festival or something like that. And you know how as an adult, you try to cheer up a kid who has a frown on their face. So he always had a frown on his face. He was never happy. He was never a happy-go-lucky kid because the father wasn't in the picture. And I get that. He was fighting himself because he needed his father in his life. And here I am, a stranger, trying to be the fill-in guy, which I had to learn the hard way. We've all I've made those types of mistakes. And we have to learn sometimes firsthand the mistakes that we make. And so, as a man, I'm kidding with him, right? Because we're in the kitchen getting ready to leave. And he had this frown on his face. I said, cheer up. What's wrong with you? Come on, it ain't that bad. And I'm, and you like air punch with a kid, like when you air punch with yourself. You don't actually hit them, but you air punching. That's what men do. Like when you give somebody dabs or something like that. So I'm doing that a little bit, and I'm patting him on his back, like, come on, what's going on with you? Pat his shoulders, like, let's go, let's get out of here, put a smile on your face. Your mother's coming around, and she was getting her coat together and everything, and doing her hair. Then I said, you don't need to be so mad. Stop being so mad like that. We getting ready to go somewhere fun, and whatever you have to do, talk about it with your mother, and let's enjoy ourselves. It was nice, and I think it was a little warm outside because she really didn't need her jacket or anything like that. But he liked wearing his little thin, I don't know what they call it, little thin rain jacket, windbreak or something like that. And so when I leaned down to his level, I said, come on, you can tell me about it. What's wrong? Come on. I know you don't know me all that much, but you know, we can work this out. And this was the perfect scenario. I need you to check this out. This is real talk. This is actually real situation. He gave me the most ugly look possible and spit in my face. Spit in my face, ladies and gentlemen. Mind you, I didn't do anything wrong to this boy. Didn't really hit him. Didn't call him out of his name, but tried to get him to smile, and he spit in my face. And it was a perfect opportunity because the mother walked in the kitchen as soon as he did that. She walked in and watched this little boy spit in my face so she can see it head on. Okay? I can't tell you what happened after that because that's her business, but she fixed the situation. She fixed it. I'm glad she did because I wasn't going to put my hands on him. I don't know what you, the listener, would have done. Whatever you want to put in the comment box, that's up to you. But this little boy spat in my face. I mean, it was all. Listen, that is not a good experience. Spit don't smell good, and nor does it feel good. And that's actually telling you you're a pile of trash for somebody to spit in your face like that. But she fixed the situation. She saw it for herself, and I don't know if reality struck home for her, but she created this monster. And to end that story, the reason why I'm bringing this to you and letting you know is because these kids, when the mother take the father away or abuse the father or they're separated for whatever reason and they don't make a proper replacement or they let that anger linger on, that child can transform to be a monster and destroy all sorts of things unnecessarily. The menaces of society, the jailbait type of individuals, disasters that most of us have to encounter daily with individuals. A lot of times these people were raised up in a broken home or a broken family, or the men who do not have stable masculinity. They don't know how to be a man. They don't know how to pay their own bills. They're very soft. They're very beta. They're living in their mother's basement. That's because they're made by these single mothers, and the single mothers don't know what they're doing. I know men now who are 20, 25, they're 26, and they are 30 years old, and they're still living with their parents' house, their mother, that is. Or they're living in their mother's basement. And it's not that they're financially inept. The mother don't want them to leave because the mother depends on them as a son husband. So if she can't get an actual husband, she makes the son obligated to take care of her. So she will take from him. She'll take from her son. She'll have her son do the work around the house. She'll have her son pay half, if not a lot of the bills. She'll have her son be the protector. The son ends up running the home. But then again, there's another alternative where the son can also be angry. He can be bitter. He can be the terminator of his own father. His own father, who isn't solely responsible for the separation of the home. He's responsible for donkey dunking with her for sure. He should have vet her out and understood her. Sure. He should have known what he was getting himself into. Of course. But we make mistakes. I did that myself trying to get involved with a single mother. And I got spit in the face for it. But it wasn't because I was ignorant. It was because of the situation that was before me. I didn't know it was that bad. And so with this friend of mine, with his anger and his misunderstanding, I wasn't too surprised. I was able to dig into his psyche and understand what he was really trying to do and where his fears and his anger came from. These single mothers create that dynamic. It's not a healthy situation to be in. And even if it seems innocent, those kids are still going to have an anger against him And they're going to throw that anger out on you as the man who's just coming into the picture. And especially if you're not the biological father, there's going to be some issues. So that should answer your question. I added a little personal experience to that, and I added my friend's experience. And I've also explained to you that a lot of times these kids don't have a proper direction. All they have is her estrogen. All they have is her BET and her drama that she brings. All that's available is the distortion that she is displaying before him, but there's no fathers there. And this is the kicker here. I need you to understand this part before we end this audio, because I got to go ahead and speak about 7 and 8. That's going to be another audio as well. It's just so many of them. A lot of mothers don't think it's wrong, and they don't think the damages are done when they take the son or the daughter away from their biological father, because, listen, they think because they have an uncle or they have their grandfather in the picture that it's enough. Oh, the grandfather is a substitute, or my big brother's a substitute, or he has an uncle, the uncle's pretty cool, or what do you call that, an auntie, right, or great-great-grandfather, whoever else. They think that's fine for the son or the daughter, when it's not enough. So what they'll say is, well, I don't need a baby daddy. I don't need to have a substitute. I don't need any stepdad. I can take care of my kid by myself. And most times they're not really taking care of the kids by themselves. They're having their daddy and their mommy do it, ladies and gentlemen. They still got an uncle somewhere. They still got a grandfather. They got people who are actually taking care of their son or daughter. They're not doing it all by themselves like they say they are. And that's the majority of them. They're only telling you that to make you, to soften the blow. They're only telling you that to get you to agree with them, so you don't have to worry about the kids. But they still grow up in the world that they're in today. Why do you think there was like 100 teenagers that had to be escorted from the mall a couple of years ago with no father or mothers? Why do you think that there are teenagers who was fighting the teachers when they were at school a couple of years ago? Why do you think there's teenage pregnancy? Why do you think there's teenagers being locked up in actual prison because of some horrendous crime that they have committed? And some of them, they're practically juvenile. Or you can say the juveniles are getting even younger and younger because they're not being raised up with a authority figure at home, or with masculine testosterone energy. They're being raised up wrong. They're being already automatically raised up to be hatred of people and authority. And they've been raised up not to understand what authority is. Without guidance, they're being raised up with hating everyone because they saw that displayed before them when they were living with their parent, not parents, parent. So therefore, you're gambling, you're doing a Russian roulette, which will eventually destroy you or destroy the family. Or it's going to put you in a more jeopardized situation. It can hurt you in the long run. So therefore, you're taking a high risk where the single mother loses nothing, but you lose everything. You can lose your freedom, you can lose your life, you can lose your prospects, you can lose your money. What is she going to lose? If anything, she's just going to lose another baby daddy, another substitute baby daddy, that is. Another donkey dunk partner. That's all she's going to lose. Or whatever money that you're providing for her. She ain't going to lose too much. So it's just not a chance to get into. You have the yellow M&Ms, sure. You may have the 1 out of 10 possibility, of course, yes. There's always going to be exceptions, but those exceptions are too small, and it's too much of a risk to get yourself involved in when 99% of it is going to swallow you up into the pit of hell. That's the lesson for today, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm going to have to continue this lesson, these lessons, the 7 and 8, on a different audio. So that is it, and I know you have learned something and gathered something, and I'm going to answer more questions and explain it in great detail just for you.